Hello and welcome to the Retirement Planning Podcast, your trusted source for navigating the path to a secure retirement. Your host and guide on this journey towards financial peace of mind is Darrin McComas. On this show, we'll delve into everything you need to know about retirement planning, from investment strategies and risk management to maximizing your Social Security benefits and crafting a resilient financial plan using the bucket plan financial process. Join me as we bring you insights from top financial experts, share stories of successful retirement journeys, and provide practical tips to help you build and preserve your wealth. Let's embark on this adventure together as we strive towards a future where retirement isn't just a dream, but a well-planned reality.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Retirement Planning Podcast. I'm Darrin McComas, owner of Evergreen Wealth Advisors, and with me, Jason Fox.
Hello everyone, welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back to you, man. You just got back from Cleveland. Tell us a little bit about Jason attended Bucket Plan 1.0 training.
Yes, I am getting certified on all of that. It was a great trip, learned a lot. I think there's a lot of great things about it, but one of the great things is that I got to sit next to people like Dave Allison and Brian Bibbo and just kind of glean that wisdom that they have. If you guys don't know who those are, you should look them up. Yep. They're very impressive individuals. And the reason that's beneficial for you guys is because it allows us to figure out what the best practices are right now in the industry and then bring that back to our office and continue to progress and make sure that we're offering the best solutions for our clients.
It's about just continually getting better. We admit we don't know it all.
Yes.
And attending these trainings is so vital. So we're staying up on the latest trends, the latest way to do things, so we can deliver better service to our clients ultimately. And I always say iron sharpens iron.
Yes.
When you're around, never be the smartest guy in the room.
I was not the smartest guy in that room.
I've been there in that room a few times, and but it's so good. You walk away from that refreshed, learning a ton. And again, It's about better serving clients. I get the opportunity in about a month to attend the Mastermind Collegium, which is put on by a C2P, which is the organization we belong to. And again, that's where they bring in their top advisors and top trainers from all over the country and just get to sit there and soak that up for 2 or 3 days. And
I'm looking forward to hearing what you learn from there.
I usually come back with about 50 pages of notes and all sorts of ideas and ways we can always improve. And that's what's going on in our office. And again, it's just with the bucket plan training, what's cool is it's an actual FINRA recognized license. Yes. So it's bucket plan certified. It's approved by FINRA. One of the only registrations out there of financial planning where you can get certified in.
Yeah.
Jason's working towards that. And welcome today. This is part 3 of a 3-part series. We're wrapping up the series entitled It's Not What You Make, It's What You Keep. And part 1 we filmed about a month ago was about really market volatility and not losing everything due to all
giving back those gains.
Giving back those gains. Part 2, which we just released a couple days ago, was all about taxes, right? Mm-hmm. Great, you have $1 million IRA, but you really don't have $1 million IRA because that money's sitting pre-tax.
Uncle Sam's going to take his part.
Yes, so
part of that pie, right?
Yeah, part 2, there were some great nuggets in there about taxes and what you can do to be proactive to minimize that. And then today, part 3 is really about protecting your blind side. We're going to focus mostly today on talking about long-term care. And unfortunately, as we're talking with clients, this is a thing that consistently comes up. They're worried about maybe a relative got sick. We've had that happen.
It's a common conversation that we have, right? Yeah. A lot of people have seen that happen with their parents or their grandparents.
Yep. And it's life. And it does happen to a vast majority of people. And the more we can plan for these things, the better off you're going to be protected. Other things that clients have been talking to us about recently is tariffs, right? And
tariffs and market volatility.
Tariffs
on everyone's mind.
Every day is a new story coming out, a new headline, and the market's swaying both directions. Hopefully, these countries get in line and start negotiating some trade deals, and the markets can recover and calm down. At least the volatility. Right. The volatility has been wild this year.
Right. And as that certainty starts to come into play and the markets will stabilize, right? It's the uncertainty right now that's making everything go haywire.
Said there. And then I think lastly is inflation. What if these tariffs stay high? What will that do to inflation going forward? A lot of Americans are stretched really thin right now.
Yes.
Yeah, those are the recent conversations. And then estate planning, right? You've been doing a lot of work with clients, helping them get either a trust or will put in place. We use a wonderful platform called wealth.com to.
Very intuitive, very easy to use. That said, most clients end up spending a considerable amount of time kind of making sure that all their questions are answered and that they get the trust that they're looking for.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we're going to actually do an episode. I think next episode will be on estate planning and the importance of that. But today, let's focus on protection planning, right? It's not what you make, it's what you keep. So let's go through a little scenario here, right? You've worked hard and sacrificed 40 years. You've been working. You've built up a nice retirement nest egg, and now you get to retirement. You could finally relax and enjoy and do some things that you've been wanting to do. Well deserved.
Right.
And then your first few years out in retirement, disaster strikes. And we're talking about either you or your spouse, someone has a major medical event. And I think all of us listening to this, you can think of someone really close to you, right? Where some cancer, stroke, heart attack, you name it.
Dementia, Alzheimer's, right?
Yeah.
It all factors into that.
Yeah, and what a lot of people that we talk to don't realize is that Medicare doesn't cover this kind of event. At least it doesn't cover much of it. So when we're talking Medicare, when you finally get to age 65 and you're retired and you're on Medicare, I think for most issues, Medicare's a great health plan. My parents are on it. My in-laws are on it.
Yeah, my parents are on it as well. And it is a great tool, right? But it's important to understand what type of tool it is and make sure that you're utilizing it appropriately.
Yeah, and it generally does not cover long-term care services. Right. So if you end up in a nursing home for a while or assisted living facility, those are not covered at least past 100 days. You know, if you have a stroke or a heart attack, you end up in a facility, the first 100 days, usually Medicare will cover under certain conditions. But after that, day 100, you're on the hook. And if you need a nurse to come into the house and assist with daily living activities, or you need medical devices or oxygen brought into the house, those kinds of things usually aren't covered by Medicare. So who's on the hook, right? You are.
You and your IRA.
Yes. And that's what we typically see. So people have, if you look at their retirement accounts, a lot of pre-tax money, and that's really what the issue that people run into and can blow up your retirement plan. And we're not just saying this, we're not trying to sell fear here in this episode, but the statistics say someone turning age 65 has almost a 70% chance of needing some form of long-term care services over their lifetime. 70%.
That's a big number, right? And yeah, we absolutely want to be, back to your point, we don't want to sell fear. I want to revisit that a little bit. We want to kind of plan for the worst. We're hoping for the best, but we want to plan for the worst too, because 70% of people face some type of event like this.
Yep.
We would not be doing our jobs if we were not looking at these possibilities.
That's what I love about being a holistic financial advisor. We're looking at not of course your portfolio performance matters.
Yes.
Big time. And I'm not discounting that, but a lot of advisors out there aren't paying attention to the protection planning or the tax planning. And if you're not getting all that from one office, then I think it's time to maybe get a second opinion on your plan.
And if you are getting that from multiple offices, even, how well are those different groups working together and communicating and making sure that that your plan is all on the same page?
Usually not, from my experience. Usually they contradict each other or down talk each other. But 7 out of 10 people are going to need long-term care services over their lifetime. And okay, what is a typical period where you need this long-term care? For guys, for men, it's usually around 2.2 years you're going to need this service. For women, it's longer. It's 3.7 years on average. And that's a long time, especially how expensive long-term care covers can be. If you end up in a nursing home and you're in a private room, you don't want to share it with someone else, you're talking around $10,000 a month as the national average, slightly higher than that. A semi-private room, you're looking around $9,200 on the national average. To have a nurse come in and help around those daily living activities, you're talking around $6,000, $6,500 on average. And where does that money come from? If it's not coming from Medicare, like you said earlier, it's got to come from your retirement savings accounts. All right, so let's play this. Let's just do the math. I think I'm a big numbers guy. So you're married, you're a male. you have some long-term care event. On average, we said 2.2 years. We're going to drop that. Let's just use round numbers here. 2 years, you need some long-term care service in a nursing home. Average is $9,000 a month. So 2 years, 24 months times $9,000. That's $216,000.
That is a significant chunk of change. And that's just 1 year.
2 years.
Oh, sorry. My apologies.
No, 2 years. But yeah, it's over 108 per year net. If you're pulling this money out of a pre-tax account,
yes,
we got to account for those taxes. Let's say this married couple that needs this $108,000 to pay the nursing home has to take it out of their 401k or IRA. They're not taking $108,000 each year. They have to account for their taxes. If they were at the top of the 12% bracket, not much room left in the 12% bracket, they take out that $108,000. Most of that 108 is going to be taxed at what rate?
22% is going to bump them up, right? Yeah. And then so you've got to take out, you need 108,000 net, because that's what the facility is going to be looking for, is that full 108,000, right? So
yeah, you're talking around $138,000, $140,000 that you'll have to take out, ship off a good chunk of that to the IRS, because this is from a pre-tax account, in order to pay that nursing home bill. And then what if you live in a state with the state income tax, right? Then that's going to get taxed. So even more strain on that retirement account. And this is where, again, like you said earlier, we plan for the worst and we hope and pray for the best. But this is where we want to be proactive. Waiting till something happens is too late.
Yes.
Too late.
It's similar to the market volatility we had discussed, right? If you wait to plan, you're planning to fail, right?
Yeah. And it's happened way too often the last few years. I've had clients pass away unexpectedly. I've had clients I just talked to a gentleman, one of my favorite clients, healthy one day. I found out a few weeks later, his daughter called me, said, my dad's in a coma. It's touch and go. We don't know if he's going to make it. Totally caught us off guard. Luckily, he's recovering and doing well. He's back at home. But man, I'm just saying, life happens and it comes when you're usually least expecting it.
Yeah, that's true for us no matter what age we are. But as you get into those retirement years, the chances of those go up and up. Like even your father-in-law, not long, fell on the stairs and he had to go and get his shoulder taken care of.
Now, Medicare covered that, but you can imagine if there was a stroke or some kind of major event. And now we're scrambling and trying to figure out what's up.
I guess my point is, as you're older, the falling down the stairs is more likely than it is when you're younger, right?
Yep. All right. So I think, again, we're talking about it's not what you make, it's what you keep. And this is where having a financial advisor in your corner, helping you see the big picture, and the sooner, the better. When we start to build out our bucket plans for our clients, one thing we look at, and we'll put this up on YouTube, are the tax funnels. Where are your retirement savings accounts and what taxation are they going to be exposed to?
And most of those we see in the pre-tax. Yeah. We've even got a client coming in today who's got, out of their 1.2 million, they've got nearly over $1 million of that is in pre-tax, right?
Yeah, exactly. And while that's great, while you're working, you get to defer those taxes and save now, it does become an issue down the road when required minimum distributions kick in your 70s. But also, if you have a long-term care event and you're forced to pull money out, you really don't have a choice to get the healthcare you want for your spouse or for yourself. And you have to take it from a pre-tax account. And we talk about the domino effects. You're pulling a big chunk out, pay the federal taxes, pay the state taxes. But then all of a sudden your Social Security check is taxed at a higher rate because of that extra income.
And you're sending even more money to the IRS.
And you're getting a smaller Social Security check as well. So it just creates all sorts of problems. So the sooner we can plan and start to diversify across these different tax funnels, get your company match in your 401k, great. But can we take some money and put it in that middle funnel, that post-tax funnel? Or do you have a Roth 401k at work where you can divert some money over there and start getting more diversified? So not all your eggs are in one basket or one funnel.
Absolutely right. We feel like this gives our clients back kind of the reins and back the control of their tax profile, right? It allows us to pull from pre-tax, post-tax, and tax advantage in a way that's very strategic and allows them to not be subject to whatever kind of calamities come down the road.
Yeah, and if you got diversification, if you have flexibility on your side, now if you have $1 million, but it's spread fairly evenly between these three funnels, you can really minimize your taxes and keep more of your money and get the care you need. And long-term care coverage is really tough when it comes to buying a long-term care policy. A lot of people don't want to go down that road because they're expensive or whatever. It gets hard when your only source of funds is pre-tax money. For almost every long-term care policy I've seen out there, you can't just take IRA money and move it into a long-term care policy pre-tax. Not
right.
These kind of policies are funded generally with after-tax money. And there's a few ways you can buy long-term care coverage. You can either do a single premium policy where maybe you take, I'm just going to throw a round number out. You take 200 grand out of your IRA, you eat the taxes on that, and then you buy a long-term care policy with the one single premium, 200,000. It's going to give you X amount of coverage and X amount of benefits for your life.
Sure. And then another option would be to do what we call a 10-pay, which splits that out over 10 years.
Yeah. So you can pull out smaller chunks.
Yeah.
Usually the more like doing a 10-pay or 5-pay, you don't get as good of coverage or maybe not as high a dollar amount coverage because the insurance company is waiting for those funds to get into the policy.
Yeah, every option has the pros and the trade-offs,
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. But even that's better than probably doing nothing. And then if you look at what a lot of people try to do, and I think what gives long-term care coverage kind of a bad rap is if you do the annual premium or where you're making monthly premium payments quarterly or just annually, like term insurance, what a lot of people are used to. The issue with that is a lot of the policies are not level premiums. The premiums tend to go up. The older you get, the higher chance you're going to be in that 70% that needs long-term care coverage. So your premiums tend to go higher and higher.
And then what happens when you get to 80 years old and that premium is so high that you can't even afford it anymore, right? So you turn it off and then...
Yeah, I have this conversation with a couple clients of mine every year before they started working with us. They got into that exact kind of policy, paying annual premiums each and every year. Every year they've gone up. Now, every year we talk around springtime, about this time, we're going to have a conversation. Should we cancel that policy? It's getting so expensive. We can't even really afford it. And when you run the flip side of that is, could you afford not having it? But it does put a lot of strain on their budget. And it's just tough when everything is in one tax funnel to do this properly. So I've had clients entertain the possibility of they're young enough, again, young, healthy, no major medical issues. We've looked at, let's just get a cheap term policy for the next 20 years. And if something does happen to one of you and you have to use all of your IRA money to get the healthcare you need and you drain the IRA accounts and then maybe one of you passes away early, you have that term insurance to replenish the nest egg.
Right. Yeah, to make up the difference for whatever was lost before they passed on.
And some of those insurance policies, you have access to accelerated death benefits where you can tap into them to help pay for that coverage as well. So a lot of ways to do it. Again, I think the message we're preaching today, my big takeaway is the sooner you start facing this and being proactive about it, usually the more options you have at your disposal and the cheaper it is to do. And you can get more protection.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say my takeaway is that the process is important. That planning is important. We preach it all the time, but really sitting down and taking the time to slowly go through the process, make sure you're turning over, looking around every corner, looking under every rock, make sure there's nothing hidden that's going to come up and bite you in retirement. That's what we do so well here in this office. And I think the reason we're big believers in it is because we don't want to see people in a situation where their retirement is ruined.
You end up with no options. You have no flexibility and you're stuck doing one thing. That's your only option. And usually when you only have one option, it's usually not the best option. And again, it's not what you make, it's what you keep. And you got to protect the portfolio, right? Yes. That's the first episode of this 3-part series. Part 2, you got to minimize your taxes and take them head on and be proactive. And then part 3 is make sure your blind sides are protected in case life happens.
Absolutely.
We're going to wrap up this episode. If some of this stuff we're talking about resonates with you, get on our website, right? We're at ewadvisors.com. There's a scheduling button right there. Have a 15-minute phone conversation with us and we'll listen to you, we'll ask you questions. You can ask us questions and we'll see if it makes sense to go through our process or not. Check us out on social media, Wealth with Darrin, and we're on YouTube as well. We have the Retirement Planning Podcast on YouTube, where you can watch these podcasts and we have more pictures and images that you can see, or you listen to us on your favorite podcast player. Other than that, really, Jason, we're going to dive into your kind of area of expertise. Even though you're not a lawyer, estate planning attorney, you do help our clients with estate planning. And I think this is an offshoot of this protection planning that we talked about today. So
100%.
Looking forward to that next episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Retirement Planning Podcast. I'm Darrin McComas. And
I'm Jason Fox.
all right. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Retirement Planning Podcast. We hope we inspired you to make changes so you can live your best life. If you want to find out more about what we do, or if you want to have a holistic wealth and health financial plan, please visit our website. Please subscribe to the podcast and share it widely with your friends and family. Financial planning and advisory services are offered through Prosperity Capital Advisors. PCA is an SEC registered investment advisor with its principal place of business in the state of Ohio. Evergreen Wealth Advisors and PCA are separate non-affiliated entities. PCA does not provide tax or legal advice. Insurance offered through Evergreen Wealth Advisors are not affiliated with PCA. Information received from this podcast should not be viewed as individual investment advice. Product discussions and illustrations are hypothetical in nature and will vary based on many factors, including but not limited to age, health, product, insurance carrier, and product design. You should consult the insurance carrier website and policy for detailed information pertaining to the registration status of PCA. Please contact the firm or refer to the Investment Advisor Public Discourse website disclosure statement as set forth on Form ADV from PCA using the contact information herein. Please read the discourse statement carefully before you invest or send money.